Hello, gentlemen. What's up? Good
Hola.
morning. Welcome back. I just got in from a nice Disney vacation yesterday, which is really not a vacation at all. It's just a lot of fucking work. But it was good. It was glorious. Brian, how are you today?
Wait. You can't bring up Disney and just like gloss over it like that. And it's a vacation.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
pay
work. Okay,
pay
bye. Hey, you.
homage.
No one
What
wants to hear about that.
what happened at Disney World? Why
It,
did you bring your 2-year-old child and your newborn to Disney World when they're not even conscious of what's going on?
well, longtime
It was a
listeners,
trip for you.
longtime listeners will remember that Aeromexico fucked us a little bit, and also Mexico City is having a severe water shortage, and so we
So
decided.
Wes is anti-Mexican. Is that what we're saying? And we know that Disney is a racist. So you went there
It all
as
makes sense now.
your last bastion.
The should we start over?
No.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Oh, now it works.
There you go. So we pivoted in a great Ross and Chandler fashion. We decided instead of going to Mexico City, we would go to a completely inauthentic cultural bastion known
They
as
do have a Mexico
Disney
there.
World. They
It's
have
at
Mexico. They have
Epcot.
Canada. They have
Yeah.
Japan, Germany, Norway, Paris, or France.
This is
I guess
true.
it's
This
France.
is true. You could travel the world in 20 minutes.
Hey, I was thinking about that. It's just like, oh, it's like such an American thought that like you can shortcut cultural understanding by just like walking around a big amusement park. Hey, why not? 40 minutes, I'm done. I've seen the world. What more is there to see? Let me go back to my television.
And you
So-
can go
Or
to
if you want to
Endor.
have fun with it, it's like an American thing of having a microcosm of many of the world's cultures condensed into one place.
That's a
much
nice way
like
to think about it.
the cultural mosaic that is already the United States.
It's like that.
That's me being, that's my positive idealized framing.
That's exactly
Than
what
just actual,
it was.
just corporate, money grabbing.
A little bit.
A little bit of both.
If you don't want to do the money grabbing version, you could just go to Queens and walk around for 5 minutes, and you hit it up like 100 different countries.
Hell
all at
yeah.
once.
See, that
Done.
seems better.
Done.
Yeah. Because they're not doing it, for profit. Exactly. For profit, but not for profit. You know what I'm saying? Not corporate profit like that. Small business profit. I'm down with that. So we took, yes, you're right. We did take a 2.5-year-old who will not remember anything. And we took a 10-month-old who didn't remember anything while we were there.
Or even now.
She had no idea what was going on. She probably had, in some ways, a better time than the 2.5-year-old, because the 2.5-year-old is at a stage where she's got some fear. And we took her on her second ride was Peter Pan. Maybe that was actually number one. We went on Peter Pan, and it turns out Peter Pan for kids is very scary. It's very dark in there, and you're flying, and it feels like, like it's not very like secure. And then there's like pirates and an alligator thing, and then like, the just like foreign nature of it. And she's never seen Peter Pan. So she like has no frame of reference for like what is happening in this little ride here on all these vignettes. It just seems all scary to her. And from then on, the rest of the trip, she like refused to go on pretty much every ride or show that we could go on. Thinking that like it might be another Peter Pan ride. Like she was like, you guys bamboozled me once. It's never gonna happen again. So that's what we had to contend with. Even rides like Dumbo.
I think you should actually thank her. She's saving you from having to wait 2 hours in line for these rinky-dink rides.
Yo, the rinky-dink rides were actually not super crowded. It was, I don't know.
Not Peter Pan. Peter Pan is always
Peter
crowded.
Pan is always a little. That was like a 40-minute wait, but we got a lightning lane or something, one of those fast pass things. So we didn't have to wait 40 minutes for it.
Fancy.
So yeah, so we even, Dumbo is all outside. You can, from the line, see the whole entire ride because it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes in a circle. And even that one, Kyle was like, I'm not going. I can't do it. I'm not going. We're not. And I'm like, you can do this. It's not going to be dark at all. You're going to like it. It goes like 2 miles an hour. you'll have fun. So we took her on it, and she did end up liking it. But like even like rides like that, she was just like, I don't want to go, I can't go, and then she'd be like, up, I need up, and then you'd have to carry her. And let me tell you, Orlando right now, not messing around. It's 95 degrees there, 93 degrees there, with 1,000% humidity, and carrying a toddler or even a baby is a lot. It's just you're instantly sweaty. Just your face is dripping. Your back is, like when the back like sweat drops down and you can feel it go down the middle of your back, and it like gets to your shorts.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that.
when it crawls into your shorts,
Oof.
that's a good
Ugh.
time. That's a
Man.
nice little river runs through it.
Yeah. So that was
Darkest
happening. It was a lot. We were trying to find AC here and there, but because the kids couldn't go on all the rides, they weren't getting the benefit of all the AC. Tron?
Clearly the happiest place on earth.
Yeah. For rides though, Tron at Magic
Those two
Kingdom,
has to like Tron.
that's a good ride. I've never been on it, and they don't have it at Disneyland. Tron is a good fucking ride. That was a good one. It's an adult roller coaster. Good shit.
Oh, an adult roller coaster.
Well, it's not for kids.
Interesting.
You gotta be like 48 inches to ride it. 4 feet. You gotta be at least 4 feet. So adults you qualify. Some kids you will not qualify.
Oh, Kaya just out. Y'all just nope.
No.
Oh, she just like yes.
She was
Actually,
noping out of these rides. She didn't even
Yes.
want to see Frozen. She didn't go on the Frozen ride. She loves Frozen. Frozen is her jam. She watches it all the fucking time.
you should have just dragged him. Like, hey
Didn't
man,
wanna
I'm
go.
pulling rank. You should have pulled rank. I'm like,
We
hey, I'm
did-
pulling rank on this one.
We
You're
did on the
going
show.
to experience
We
this.
made her go to the show, even though she did not want to go to the show.
Tough. Hey.
Yeah,
That
so
would've been
the
motto
singing
of the
show-
My kind of kid.
Yeah, for the singing show, we made her go, and she faced backwards the whole time, and then would just like look around when the singing started and sing along, and then like immediately turn back and like bury her head.
Was that
in
her
one
form
our-
of protest?
And
like
no,
that.
just like she's just like hanging on like a koala bear. That was her safety mechanism. And then, but we didn't make her go on the Frozen ride because at that point it was like the second day, I think, and everybody was a little bit tired, and it was going to be all dark, and she was just not going to be enjoying it the whole time. So we didn't make her go on that one. Eliza liked it. She was like, ooh, just looking around, seeing the scenes.
She's a baby.
Yeah.
She's still ignorant of the darknesses of this world.
She can't even see 10 feet in front of her.
Yeah. My sister and her husband ended up coming with us, and that was great. So they got to play with them. Alexis bought Kaya like a Mulan dress. They gave her. We just picked a bunch of dresses and held them up, and she just picked that one. She didn't know that it was a Mulan dress, but she liked it. She was like, "Ooh, it's pink and pretty, and it's got all these like sequins on it," and so that's the one she wore. So that was great. We were trying to do the thing where you meet the characters, and then try to take a picture with Kaya as Mulan next to Mulan, but we couldn't find Mulan. She was nowhere to be found. We hit up a bunch of other princesses, which she did like. I think her favorite was Jasmine, honestly. Even though she's only seen Aladdin like halfway through, but she was into it. Jasmine was really nice to her.
You're burying it, Wes. We want to know, who is your favorite princess?
Ooh, my favorite princess.
Wait, you're not supposed to have a real answer, but go
Yes,
ahead.
you are.
Of the princesses,
Why are you checking out the
met,
princesses, Wes?
The princesses we met. Who's the favorite? Probably
You're supposed to
Jasmine.
say Jen.
She
right?
played. Oh, okay.
Jen's my Disney
Jen's the
princess.
queen. Sorry, Jen's the queen.
Just say, just call her what she truly is: Death God, Overlord, Emperor. Jen.
The coolest one was the interaction with Jasmine, because Jasmine was like kind of like Eliza would sit on the floor, and Jasmine was just like talking to her, and then she would like boop her on the nose, and Eliza would be like, eh. So that was really cool. And then Kaya really liked talking to her a little bit, which is unusual. Kaya was like not wanting to talk to these princesses. She really liked the experience, but did not want to talk to them. She was just like, let me just stand here and like not
Bask in your
have to say
aura.
anything. Yeah, exactly. She was a little shy princess this trip. So hopefully she'll come around a little bit, but it's fine. I don't know. It was cool. It was cool to like go in a very different mode. Like we've never been to an amusement park with our kids. Usually I'm just like, let me go do all the rides. Let me like do this. Let me do that. But this one was different because it was like, let's try to find a character that you could meet, or let's try and go find a cool thing to see or touch, or whatever. And so that was kind of a different way to do the parks, and it was cool. I don't know. You get to see all the other parents like dealing with, screaming kids. 4:00, start to hear lots of screaming babies. 4 to 5.
Are they
Snap.
like car
How were your
alarms in
kids?
that?
Were your kids disgusting like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh man, cranky
Does-
AF, man. 1 or 2 o'clock for us. Oof, man, everything's starting to fall apart.
So if one goes off, does it set off another one that's next to it? And
Like
then it's just
101
a
Dalmatians.
chain reaction, a wailing.
It's nuclear fusion. I don't think so. Kids are so used to other kids crying, they don't pay attention, man. They
They're too
just do not
selfish.
care. It just does not register in
Man.
their frame of reference at all.
Who are these sociopaths that lack all empathy for the fellow human beings around them that are suffering?
2-year-olds.
Gotta teach them
2-year-olds
that
have no
social
idea.
contract.
Yeah, no.
So Wes, when the kids are melting down, are you just like Darvin Ham with your head in the pocket on the sideline? We're not calling a timeout, or are you just out here like Joe Mazzulla, just really animated? Like, what's your sideline game coaching demeanor look like when the kids are having an absolute meltdown? It's the end of the third quarter. You're down 15. Everyone's looking at Wes. What's going on in your head?
Hey, we're not calling timeouts. We're going for it. We're just gonna trust in the process. We've done the prep work. I know my players are ready. I know my kids are ready, and I'm gonna let them figure it out.
Well, good luck, man.
I have a feeling Wes takes that stance because he's more like the front office than the coach. He's like, we invested a lot of money in these players, so we're going to play them.
That's good.
Absolutely. Shout out to Disney for just stealing all our money. But we only bought one souvenir for Kaya and no souvenirs for Eliza, so I feel good about that. They didn't take our money there. It all went into food.
I feel really good about neglecting my one child and getting away with it.
Hell yeah. Yo, they have so many buses there. I didn't realize. Brian, you've been?
I have.
It's so many buses. Buses everywhere all the time. Just like
what an insight.
From this park to that park and then this park. I didn't know. Well, because I'm used to going to Disneyland and they don't need 18,000 buses because everything's right next to each other. But
insightful commentary from the
Magic
Confidently
Kingdom,
Wrong crew.
Holy cow. Never ridden so many buses in a 3-day span. I think we got on 15 or 17 different buses. It was so many buses.
They got 20 different parks.
We're not
allowed
to talk about buses. Anyways, listeners, viewers, we're here to really talk about House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon.
HBO's big
segue here is
Season 2
children
is out.
and messed up parents and messed up.
Yeah, we're talking about Wesley and them's wild family dynamic. There are way wilder families to talk about, and that's what we call a transition. But Wes, big
Well
money.
played.
I'm a dish it back to you, a little give and go.
So it's been about 2 years since we've been in Westeros in the pre-Game of Thrones era. We're here with the House of the Dragon, looking at the Targaryen family disasters. I don't know what this is. The worst family reunion that's ever been had in the history of family reunions. And so we're jumping into season 2. Before we do that, it's been a while, so you may not remember, or we may have been, maybe we've got some new listeners who don't really know where we're at. So how did you feel about season 1? Maybe even a little bit about its conclusion, and then your excitement for season 2. Savon, tell us where you at.
Yeah, I really enjoyed season 1. I didn't realize that the first season was going to be one that was actual decades of build up before the actual events of the war, right? They really dedicate an entire season to entirely just context building, build up, lots of actor shifts and changes.
They recast the Rhaenyra character and the Alicent character.
They recast some of a lot of characters, a couple of characters, including Aegon, right? Have at this point 3 different people who played them damn near. 4 if you count them as an infant, as a toddler, as a teen, as a young adult. So a lot of cast shifting, but I enjoyed it. I didn't expect to have that build up. I liked the long form storytelling. I thought it flexed. I actually enjoyed a lot of the casting decisions, and I really enjoyed season 1, the build up, and seeing how they changed and adapted things from the book. But I love that it felt more like a drama than an epic. And
Okay.
I was excited for season 2, and am excited, and I'm enjoying because I read the books. I forgot a lot of what happens in this story, but there's some key things I do remember, and so a lot of it's still pleasantly surprising. But I'm enjoying it.
Boss. Brian?
I'm not a reader of books, so
Of
I
words.
didn't-
Don't read words.
I am not a reader of words.
You could have said that in a less dump on yourself way. You could have just said, "I didn't read the books." I said, "I don't read." Period.
I'm just being honest. trying to keep it a buck over here.
For real.
So I didn't have that context for season 1 of House of the Dragon. However, I do agree they did spend a lot of time carving out the dynamics between Alicent and Rhaenyra, their two families, all the other Targaryens. Spent a lot of time devoted to fleshing out what those dynamics are like, and all of it comes to a shocking point at the very end of season 1. And I thought all of that was really well-crafted storytelling. I know I was very critical about it when we first talked about it, about how it was not different enough and not unique enough unto itself as the original Game of Thrones TV series. But by the same token, it's just as solid of storytelling as the original series. And I mean, you could argue that perhaps more happens in a chunk of a season of House of the Dragon, because they did cover so much time. And then now that we're in season 2, a lot of things keep happening. And so it's really interesting to have this kind of breakneck pace as this feud continues to develop, evolve, and just spiral out of control. So, I think it's a very well made show. It's probably one of the most well made things that are out right now, and in the past couple years. So, yeah, I was definitely looking forward to season 2.
I enjoyed season 1 quite a bit, but I also felt like the ending was kind of like, the excuse me, the whole
dragon fight was
no, well, that was we'll talk about that, I guess, at a different time. The whole thing about the miscommunication around Viserys and what his dying breaths, and how Alicent like mishears what he's trying to say. But like they were already planning for it anyways, so it didn't really seem like that big of a thing to be like, well, now we've got like the rightful blessing of the king. I don't know. I thought that was kind of like not cheap. It just didn't feel like it like mattered that much. And to see like the king go out with just basically a whimper rather than, actually doing something. I mean, I guess it's on brand, but it just felt like, okay. I wasn't that excited. And in fact, I was not excited for season 2 because I'm just like, I don't care about these people. They're not necessarily like having shown any kind of ability to be a ruler or be a king or a queen or whatever, and they're just sort of like bumbling away and being like, that's my toy, like I want it and you can't have it, and I know that's the point of Game of Thrones, but I'm just sort of tired of that. Maybe I've got too many like toddlers in my life right now, so that could be that.
Very interesting take
What the hell
from the
was
father
that?
over here. He's like,
Yeah,
all these people are babies. I don't care about them.
I don't.
No one's a good ruler. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I agree with that statement, but
None of them have been a good ruler. So we're 3
I mean,
episodes
were you
in.
rooting for anybody in the original series?
No, not really. I mean, I
And
guess
you watched because
leaning a little bit towards the Rhaenyra character.
you did did you not care for the original series? Maybe that's a better question.
No, I like the original series quite a bit. But I think you had people there to like root for, or at least think that like would be good on the throne, even if they weren't good at getting to the throne. But someone like Jon Snow, right, or Robb Stark, or even who's like the Tyrells. Is it the Tyrells?
those are the most boring.
The mom
Yeah,
the mom who like takes out Jaime, right?
This is like a crazy barometer for what makes something good. You want a character that takes the moral high ground
He
to
wants a
ascend to the
lawful
throne
good
and be
character.
deserving. It's
Yeah,
like,
but then
He
maybe
wants
they
a
don't get
who
there.
lawful good
cares?
character.
Well, they might not get there, but maybe that's like part of why they like don't get there, right? Like, I don't
Wes
know.
needs a goody two shoes in his show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he can't enjoy it.
Where's the teacher's pet, damn it?
I need someone who follows all the rules, who's nice to everybody.
Yeah, and maybe
doesn't swear.
maybe they don't make it. Maybe that's their downfall, and that's fine too, right? That like you're showing that like that kind of kindness or whatever can't really exist or can't get you to the throne. But then you're left with someone like who was the one that Jamie killed before the show starts in Game of Thrones?
Ares,
the Mad King or whatever. Yeah. So like that's why you end up with someone like that, because like they're willing to be just ruthless and cutthroat and get rid of all their enemies. But I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
Wes, you are in
whatever.
peak form. I am here for it. It's confidently wrong Sundays, baby. There is something in here today.
So yeah, so that's been kind of like the thing that's been kind of for me this season too, is like I don't know. I mean, like these people are fine. Like their infighting is like intriguing, I guess, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't really care about what they're gonna do. And I think part of it is we know that one group is gonna succeed, but like they're still gonna suck at the end of the day. So
we do
we'll
know
see.
that one group's going to succeed.
Well, because
you know
like
that
We
they're
know
gonna
that they're all
Targaryens,
going to be gone.
And you know that they're gonna suck.
well, the Targaryens are in
You
power
know you
all
knew
the
the
way up
ending.
until right before Game of Thrones, right? So we know that like the Targaryens maintain control. It's not like a secret shadow player comes out of the woodwork and takes over the throne, or there's not a rebellion.
You legitimately don't. Actually, Wes,
You don't know.
legitimately
They're
don't
both
know that.
Targaryens.
Like, actually, Wes, I'm gonna keep it a bean. That does happen later.
That there's a rebellion.
Not necessarily, not in the context of this story, not anything relevant to this story, but like, you don't know what else happened in the Game of Thrones stuff between this series and the main one.
Well, you know that the Targaryens are in power until Robert Baratheon is in power, right?
Yeah, I'm just letting you know there. The thing you said doesn't happen does happen.
That there's a rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole nother storyline that I actually think would also make a good adaptation. But like, there's a whole nother Targ who absolutely starts like a 3-part civil war, basically, or rebellion.
Damn, the Targs.
The Targs. They're wow. Point. Well, sorry, you're just Westing right now. I love it. I'm here for it. It's great.
I don't know.
Take us on your journey, Wes.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think the show is like amazing. I've just sort of been like, it's fine. Brian, how have you felt about it so far? We're 3 episodes in. There should be a new show, or there will be a new show tonight. That'll be episode 4. How have you felt like so far? This could be anything about the show that you're digging on, that you're liking. What are you thinking?
Well, unlike our host over here who wants the lawful good character to ascend to the throne,
that's not
and
what I
to
said.
root for,
not what I said.
I think this show is actually much more about politics, and politics is interesting inherently. And you don't need any morally good character to participate in it. And actually, it's probably more interesting when they're not, partially because that's real to life. So that being said, I do think a lot of fun things have happened in just a mere 3 episodes of this new season. And so I think one key thing to point out is that every episode has built towards a crazy climactic moment in which something has paid off that was started at the very beginning of that said episode. And this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier in how the storytelling is slightly different from the original Game of Thrones series, is that things are paying off immediately. Mm-hmm. Like they are talking about, Daemon is talking about retribution earlier in the episode, and we get it by the end of the episode in all of its mishap, right? And so we're going into spoilers at this point, right?
Yeah.
People are watching this.
Put that
people
thing on the Honda Civic. Vroom, vroom, let's go.
So, I just got that.
Yeah, with me. You're with me.
Pocket rocket spoiler. Okay, we got
you.
So, Daemon's out for blood. Baby gets killed. End of episode 1, right? Episode 2, Alicent's new boy toy upset over his role in not defending said killed baby. He sends one of the twins after Rhaenyra. The twins face off in Rhaenyra's castle. They kill each other, right? So you have that, and then episode 3, Rhaenyra is debating with her council about how to respond, and they all want blood. They all want action. She's trying to be a prudent ruler, just like her father. And so she goes for a more backdoor dealing kind of route, and seeks out Alicent, sneaks herself into
temple,
King's
the Sept.
Landing and the Temple of the Sept, and has this incredible conversation back and forth with Alicent, where they both realize that they were wrong. They both realize that they made mistakes, and they both realize that things have gotten way out of hand beyond their control, and that it's kind of a done deal already. So I think we're getting a ton of stuff happening just in a mere 3 episodes. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season as all this plays out in a bloody mess that we know it's going to turn out to be.
Absolutely.
Sav.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, Brian. That was a really good answer. Can you repeat the question, Wes?
Yeah. What have you thought about the first 3 episodes so far?
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to give an answer that mirrors Brian's a little bit. First of all, Brian, I
Ooh.
agree with everything you said. Like, the politics portion is more interesting. Politics in general means that even lawfully good characters have to. And I would argue that Rhaenyra is probably the closest thing to a lawful good that we have, in terms of she's not malicious. She doesn't go out of her way to seek blood. She's trying to avoid all this shit. She's going out of her way. Now, I'm not saying that might not change, but knowing these kind of conflicts, that probably will change, right? Because politics makes good people have to make hard decisions that are, it's kind of like a pick your poison. But so I agree. I want to echo the politics stuff. What I am loving most is, and Brian, it's funny because you said you were more critical of last season of it being more of like a melodrama, but that's what I am enjoying most about this. I like the epic, almost adventure side of Game of Thrones, but I like that this one is much more intimate, and decisions are not just driven by politics, but by characters' actual emotional well-being. What I want to focus on in my little, I guess, whatever, is like how characters' emotional states, and it kind of makes there be a lot of payoff from season 1 of you just understanding, oh, why does this character behave this way? Oh, this is why. One of my favorite moments in this season, and I think just Thrones period, was, I think, the end of episode 2 maybe, where Alicent goes to her dad because she needs support from him, and she's like, I've sinned, and he's like, I don't want to hear it. And that's consistent with Otto being an emotionally distant father, right? Like he set up his daughter to try and basically get with the king and try and place her and all that in the first season. So we know he's an emotional. Yeah, so we know he's already been an emotionally distant manipulator. This is him again not being emotionally there for his child, right? Literally the next scene, she sees her son Aegon, as much of a big of a piece of crap he is, crying over his dead child, wringing his hands in that nervous way, the same way Alicent does. I don't know if people catch that. They both have that same kind of like fiddling with their hand nervous tick. She doesn't support her son right after her dad doesn't support her. In that same episode, she also did not support her daughter, who just had her child murdered. Rather than talk about, hey, what happened? I'm sorry you had to pick your son to get killed. She's trying to play damage control over her being with Kristen Cole, then uncomfortably making her daughter sit through the funeral procession. And then Aemon in general, right, has never been supported by his mom, and they clearly have an icy cold relationship. But like, for me, I'm loving that kind of stuff because the politics is great, Brian, as you focused on. But just watching these family dynamics at play, like Wes, that's what I'm enjoying. I don't really care about rooting for any of them, but watching this dynamic at play is so fascinating and interesting because you have characters who are awful like Aegon, but you have more context as to why he's the way he is. His dad, Viserys, was not a good dad to this man. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, yo, Viserys, you are not a good dad. Yo, Alicent, you are not a good mother. But when Otto was your dad, it makes sense that you're not a good mother. You were kind of set up to fail in the first place. So, like, do I like any of them? No. but is it fun and interesting to watch their dynamic at play? Absolutely. It's almost why I like the greens more than the blacks. I'm rooting for the blacks, but like they're frankly much more functional of a family dynamic. Like even what is it? Not Luke, Jace. Even Jace when he's with Bela is talking about like he still remembers his dad Laenor fondly. He still remembers his biological dad Strong fondly. Like he kind of had a two dads mom situation, and he still is like, yo man, I fucked with all the people. I fucked with everybody. We all had positive. So it's for me that emotional family element and the family dynamic differences between Rhaenyra and Alicent's side is fun to see play out because there's just so much baggage. There's just so many things that were not handled properly. And it's very much like how real dysfunctional families are. Like my family isn't having beef on this level, but it makes, we can all, I'm sure, relate to like, hey, there's something that maybe a parent, a cousin, someone never really talked about or was unaddressed from even younger years. And you might be good, but that still is like it's a little, maybe a cloud hanging over shit. But yeah, watching this family dynamic at play, I am absolutely loving it. It's like a Shakespearean tragedy.
For sure.
Damn straight.
Are there any characters or like actors who have been just like killing it for you, Brian?
Killing it?
Yeah.
Let me think about that. Have there been? I mean, I think like on the whole, everybody has been really solid. I mean, Kristen Cole is fairly terrifying. I'm also glad that that the woman, I forget the name of her character, but she's in the show Devs, and she plays the woman that used to be a courtesan to Daemon, and then
the White Worm.
Yeah, and using all her social political capital to weasel her way into good graces with people. Yeah. I'm very glad that she lost her thick accent that she was sporting last season, where for a while I thought she was just like mocking a Jamaican accent or something. I am glad that's gone.
Yikes.
So points to her for making a wise choice to move away from that. But who else has been great? I mean, like Daemon is always great as just a chaotic force, and and also like seeing him seeing him confront things, and with all of his baggage, I think plays out great, especially in that last episode too. He thinks he's going to be this big swashbuckling conqueror, and he comes to an empty castle and then is instead confronted by haunting dreams. So I think there's plenty of good stuff to go around so far in this season.
Speaking of Daemon, that conversation he and Rhaenyra are having, where they're in that dining hall, and or they're in their bedroom, I think, and they're just going at it around like, I can't trust you, right? Like that's the thing between them. And it's like I'd sort of forgotten a little bit that like Daemon does have some claim to the throne, and probably at some point did have, Dane's on becoming king of Westeros or something like that, and maybe still harbors some of that wish. And he's he has been a loyal supporter of Rhaenyra's claim, right? Like he said, like, I'll marry you. He put the crown on her. He did all these things. And so we've sort of just taken for granted, or I had taken for granted at least, that he was 100% in on Rhaenyra's claim to the throne. And when she points out, like, some of what you're doing right now is actually just out of like your own self-satisfaction, your own want to create like chaos and whatever, and not thinking about the bigger picture, is actually why you weren't entrusted with the throne in the first place. Like, oh damn, like you're just pissing him off more, and now he's gonna do more chaotic things.
Speaking facts.
Yeah, and speaking facts for sure. But that scene between them was just like so brilliant in terms of like their acting, their timing, like the way they would kind of get hot and then cold to each other. Yeah, so I think that scene has been the standout for me between them. And I think one small piece that comes from that is that right afterwards, Rhaenyra tells Bela that she can go stand watch on her dragon over King's Landing, when she wouldn't let Jacaerys do it, her firstborn son do it, and so she doesn't hold her son in the same regard as her niece. Maybe I'm not actually sure what her relationship to Bela is, but she's like, oh yeah, Jace, you can't be in harm's way, but Bela, go ahead, you can be in harm's way.
I think
out
they're also
there.
cousins.
They're
Yeah.
cousins as well. It's a little bit messy. We're not going to spend too much time thinking about it, otherwise my brain will bleed out of my ears. Sav, has there been anybody who's kind of stood out to you in terms of like their acting or just characters you've really just like kind of really enjoyed seeing on screen?
Yeah, like I said, the Greens have just been very fascinating because it's just the most dysfunctional family ever, and just watching it, the actors are doing a great job. So the guy who plays Aegon is named Tom Glenn Carney.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of him. They didn't give him a lot to do at the end of the last season because his character wasn't at the forefront of the story yet, obviously. But they clearly sold off that he was a bit insecure and unsure of himself and a piece of crap, right? And it was pretty easy to hate
I feel
him.
like they've changed his character between season 1 and season 2.
I don't think so. I think
You don't think so?
My interpretation of him is the hyper rich kid who was neglected by his parents and just does whatever and wilds out because they just don't, they have no other outlet. And he also is from a royal family and has like unlimited funds. Like,
Yeah.
I think that first season of like the child fighting and the salt stuff was like a good way of driving that home, and his like alcoholism and all of that. But the actor who plays him does a good job of just, for a character that's very easy to hate, he has a weird charisma that makes the character still fun to watch because he's almost funny, but not in like a ha-ha way, but just, I don't know, his demeanor, the energy he brings to the character is very entertaining and kind of brings a character who could easily feel like a Joffrey-esque character, honestly feel, in my opinion, a lot more human. Like, is he a piece of crap? Yes, but he's not just out here torturing people like Joffrey did, but he still does impulsive, awful, dumb shit. Like, he hung those rat catchers and made Cole his hand incredibly stupid, but you understand his logic of where he's coming from, even if it's a dumbass logic. He kills the guy who killed his son himself, but it's like, yeah, I mean, he want revenge. That tracks. I mean, I get it. I get why someone would do that. When I do it, I don't know.
Well, he wants to project strength. He's not a sadist.
Yeah, and you see his insecure. You see how blatantly insecure he is, right?
Right.
He wants to ride his dragon to prove himself. He wants to project strength. Him being mad about Otto, Larys manipulating him into not wanting to be manipulated by his grandfather Otto, and that whole scene, which, by the way, that Otto scene was amazing. That was probably my favorite part of the season, was just Otto blowing up on him and just saying what we, the audience, been wanting to say. But the actor who plays Aegon is great. Like I said, Aegon was never a character I liked. Even in the books, he was very easy to like root against and hate. And now they've made him this very tragic character who does dumb shit, but it's just, you understand a bit of why, and it's still just interesting to see like someone who's very much not fit for the role as king, kind of knows he shouldn't. Most of the people around him kind of know, but he still tries to cling on because, like we said earlier, this shit's too far gone to end anything remotely peaceful. So like, he's kind of just stuck in the role. Like, even his dynamic with his brother, of like him actually kind of being his brother's real biggest bully. Like, Aemon's the bully one who's kind of has his own insecurity, but Aegon's kind of the real bully of him. He was the bully as a kid. He was the one bullying him in the brothel. Aegon's a piece of crap and is a very intriguing character, but the actor is what really makes him, like, makes those scenes for me come to life.
Nice. I haven't really been into that character, but the acting, but I just thought, like, in season 1 he just always seemed like a piece of shit. Like, everything he did was like awful. He didn't really seem to even want to be king that much. He was just kind of like whatever about it. And this season, and granted, like, things can change, but it just didn't feel explained or earned that he's actually a little bit more tactical, right? He's showing some thought around, like, I put the rat catchers up there because the city needs to know that, like, you can't, like, fuck with our family, yada yada yada. Like, he had some, like, logic about, like, what he was doing. He's taking it seriously in terms of, like, who he wants to surround himself with. He changes out the Kingsguard. I'm not saying these are great choices, but he's showing that he's actually paying attention. He goes to these council meetings. He has suggestions around, like, how they're going to fight. He mourns his son, who he's never been really a father to, it seems like. And they sort of retconned it and being like, he's trying to make up for the lack of fathership that he got from his father. So like, I don't know. I feel like they sort of they changed, and I think those are good choices. I think it makes him a more like understandable or like more rounded character, but it was sort of jarring to be like, wait, are we supposed to be feeling like some kind of empathy for this kid now? Because in the first season, you don't feel any empathy for him at all. He's just like an a-hole through and through, and nothing he does seems serious or doesn't seem like he cares. And in this, it was like the lack of care. He just didn't care about anything going on. Like you said, he was just the rich kid who had everything he wanted, and that's all he wanted was to like have his fun and do whatever. And in this season, he's very much more like, I want to be the king. I want to have power. I want to make these decisions, when he had never shown any interest in that before. And so I think that's where I felt like there was a shift that like was a little bit jarring for me. Not that that was the wrong choice, just that like they didn't sort of like ease us into that. It just sort of happened.
There's a
that he-
pivotal scene in season 1
Yeah.
that I think maybe you're forgetting here.
Okay,
Is
tell
that
me.
when he's coronated and the people are cheering for him, he's fucking into it.
Okay.
He loves, you can tell
His
he
face
has
changes.
clearly changes attitudes and loves the idea of him having that power and now stepping into this mantle where he's no longer just
Okay.
the rich
The
kid.
F up son.
Oh,
And the
you know,
F
and
up
he
son.
like he hears the complaints of
chanting.
the. Well, no, sorry, I was saying in this season he has that scene where he's hearing the complaints or the difficulties
Yeah, and
of
he
the
wants to
people.
do something.
Yeah, he wants to do like
something
he's an
helpful.
earnest,
Yeah.
actual ruler at that point, and I was like, this doesn't seem like the
So-
same Aegon we've seen at all, you know. So that kind of threw me for a
Yeah.
loop, but I
So
guess
this
that
is
makes
why I
sense.
But
That
he's pivoted. He's
Yeah.
And this is why I
pivoted
connect the
because
dots,
he's
too.
thrust into this role.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, the other connected dot moment, Wes, is that, like I said before, he has been emotionally neglected by his mom and his dad. Neither of them really, they both know he's kind of a piece of crap and don't really show any interest in him. So it's not just him wanting to be, I think it's less of him wanting to be a good ruler. I wouldn't frame it as that. It's more of a, this is his means to get approval.
Yeah.
You know, he has never gotten approval from anybody. He's always been seen as the F
So
up
now he
and
wants
all
the
of this.
approval of the people.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell, right? He's even insecure of his brother. His brother is like a badass who can fight, who's in shape and all this, and got to rise the biggest dragon. He clearly partially bullies him because, you know, he's got an inferiority complex and he's insecure, right? So like,
Yeah.
a lot of this kind of tracks what we already know about him. But I wouldn't look at it as he wants to be a good leader. It's more of a, he never got approval from mommy and daddy, but
Yeah.
shit, they forced him to be king so he can get approval from the people. So he'll do that. So he wants to try and be king, but that's what makes him tragic because he's still an idiot. Because everything he does that's kind of even remotely, you say tactical, it's like, all right, but he does it in the dumbest way possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Promotes
No,
the
all
worst
the-
person
But just
to
that
hand.
interest, he had shown zero interest in being king before that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He
but
realized
I'm
that was a
saying
means
that
to be
he
getting. He
shows
that's-
interest immediately when it happens, and
Gotcha.
that every choice that he makes in season 2 is really about asserting his dominance
Right.
as like a bully, right? And removing anything that feels threatening to him.
Yeah.
Right. So he removes Otto Hightower and installs Kristen instead, who is somebody who's enabling him. Right. So he is basically filling out people the
The
spots
Kingsguard were
around
just
him.
a bunch of bros.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Right.
they
He
were
exactly.
just
leaves out the
bros.
King's Guard. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a good way of framing it, that it's like about acceptance, and he doesn't want to hear like too much pushback or have somebody who like threatens his reign, right? Or his like power and control here. All right. So this season has already had some like interesting choices, or some like, I don't know, just like very impulsive moments, and that lead to a lot of violence, or that lead to kind of tragedy or something like that. Has there anything that stood out to you most? Because for me, it's probably the twin fight. That was just like the most, like, not the most jarring, but it was the most like engaged that I've been in. Like, whoa, how did, like, the lead up to it, how it happened, and then how it finishes. Savon, where are you going on that one?
Are you talking about just like impulsive moments or the twin fight specifically? Because the twin
No,
fight
no,
broke
just
my heart.
impulsive moments. What stood out to you is just like, oh man, this show is like setting us up for some whoa.
I think honestly, it kind of, everything that has happened is just retroactively making Otto's entire plot to install Aegon in the first place just be like, dude, that was just such a dumb decision in hindsight. I mean, it was a dumb decision in foresight too, but like in hindsight, like so whenever I see wild things happening, what comes to mind for me isn't really the thing that actually happened. It's like Otto, bro, you effed up.
Miscalculated.
All of this ultimately comes back to you because you're the ones who plotted to install Aegon, and all the dumb shit that happened in Spirals is because of that. With your damaged, beefing family, where nobody else was going to be remotely capable of making a rational decision. Because, like, look at that group, look at this family. Between Aegon, Aemon, Daemon, when that group is going, all of them have already done dumb shit.
Very dumb.
So,
inbreeding has a cost.
Yeah, man. I'm just like, maybe it's not Targaryen madness. Maybe it's just Targaryen they're just dumb. Targaryen impulsiveness.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Aegon
they're fiery, you know? They're from Valyria.
Yeah, I think Aegon hanging the rat catchers was one that I think will have more of a ripple effect. I'm just like, dude, I was with Otto that whole scene. I'm like, dude, y'all had a layup to be able to kind of get things going for y'all in a good way, and that was just such an unforced error, pimp. Like, there was just a bazillion ways you could have done that, and you picked the worst possible way. I think that's going to bite him in the ass down the line.
I don't know if it will. I mean, I think you're right that it might, but I wasn't really on board with that. I was like, the people haven't seen, like, worse than this. Like, it seems like they've had some, like, pretty crazy rulership for a long time, and so, like, hanging people from the walls. But maybe it's different because
not with Viserys.
Yeah, Viserys ruled for a long time and didn't do things like that were super cruel, but...
And the king before was known specifically as the longest reigning Targaryen king, and it was also an Age of Peace. So, like, for context of the story...
Viserys was the longest.
No, the king, because before that they had Jaehaerys, who was he was the old king, right? He was literally the super old dude, and he was renowned as like one of the best kings ever, because even with all the succession crap, right, they had the whole Great Council to settle that and make shit the thing that made Viserys king. But like his entire reign and Viserys' entire reign were entirely peaceful in terms of theirs. So like they actually have had pretty chill Targaryens in office at this point in time.
I guess
like,
that's true. Yeah, I thought Otto had said that your father had reigned over the most, or like reigned the longest. I thought he was talking about Viserys, who had reigned the longest.
It's not longest, but it was a peaceful reign. Like under him and the king before, you got almost 100 years of just like pretty chill and not like a crazy dude in office, chill people. So Aegon is very much and like Aegon said, I mean, like Otto said, right? Like the people are already kind of split between some like Rhaenyra or some Aegon. So if that's already like a two sides thing, you didn't do yourself no favors. So I don't know. I think that's gonna bite him in the back. But I was like, dude, that was dumb as shit, bro. I love it.
I mean, it sort of just comes down to whether the people really care about that action, right? About those characters or about those rat catchers, and whether they think they were like innocent or whatever, whether they thought this was like so outlandish of them to do.
You saw the scene. You saw people outside the castle crying.
All right, Brian, has there been any moments that have stuck out to you?
I mean, I keep coming back to Kristen Cole. Because he really is sort
swinging
of
that thing.
He's kind of a mirror to Daemon, even though he's not Targaryen, right? I mean, you could say Aemond is the mirror, but also Kristen Cole, because he's a dude with kind of like with a crazy allegiance to Alicent, right? Based on sex and passion. But clearly he has a level of aggression that, when unchecked, is really dangerous and really destructive, and I think he uses his passion as a justification for his aggression, and so because of that, now in the midst of this war, him being given power as the new hand, also as the head of the King's Guard, right? It allows him to enact that aggression in terrible ways. So, that scene where he tells the twin, I forget whether it's Eric or Eric.
Funny.
But
Eric with the A.
He kind of has this very terrifying conversation with him, just saying to the dude, like, you're not going to go do this. You're not going to just end it and be the hero, right? And so he has this kind of, he has this kind of barnstorming, like kicking the door attitude, kicking ass, taking names,
gaslighting, projecting.
it's so he's a real wild card
Yeah.
in this storyline, and you just know that he's more than the gasoline on the fire. He's like
He's the whole
he's
thing.
like
He's the match.
He's the
Exxon
oil.
Valdez on the fire.
Yikes.
And it's just gonna magnify so many times over this conflict, right? Because he's so wild and
Yeah.
unhinged.
Him and Damon for sure. They want to amp up. They're ratcheting up the volume when everybody, like, some of the people are trying to bring it down. Dude, the ramifications of that, sending Eric in to kill Rhaenyra, who gets sort of alerted to it by the White Worm, by Mysaria, as she's being sort of given clemency or given passage out. That was such a crazy scene. And then, like, I couldn't tell who was who. I couldn't tell who had the upper hand. And then it seemed like they were gonna get Rhaenyra, and then they didn't. And then one stabs the other through the stomach, and obviously like has this mortal injury. And then you're like, oh, is it the one that's protecting her? Is it the one that's going to attack her? And you don't know. And he says, I'm sorry. And you're like, are you sorry because you're going to kill her? Or are you sorry because something else? And then he kills himself right through the stomach. Oh, man, like, what a tragic Shakespearean ending for a brother to kill a brother and then kill himself at the dismay of not being in a world where his brother's alive. Just incredible.
And him being the one who did it.
And him having to be the one who had ended his brother's life. Just an incredible, like, moment for characters like we didn't really care too much about. I mean, they didn't have big backstory or anything, and just in those moments that they did have, you could see like how much their bond meant to each other. And this fight, like I said before, like this fight just sort of did a great job, kind of like how The Boys, they're using these fights to build character, to characterize these moments and these players on the board. And I think they did a fantastic job with that particular fight in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've been doing a lot these last couple episodes, right, of emphasizing, especially before things pop off, that the deadly nature of these conflicts between families, right? Like they have the Blackwoods and Brackens, who are like, for context, they're like the Game of Thrones world equivalent of like the Capulets and Montagues in terms of just beef on site. Actually, if you recall, in season 1, when Rhaenyra was seeing out the different people to marry her, remember that young boy who came up and he was getting insulted and he fought that guy and killed him? Do y'all remember that?
Kind of, not really.
Rhaenyra people were basically asking for Rhaenyra's hand, but like a young boy came, like a kid, and they were just mocking him. But that was a Blackwood and a Bracken. So their beef is like, yo, you talk shit? All right, come on, let's get it. It's on site. But them, senseless blood loss, right? The brothers getting on opposite sides, senseless bloodlust. They're really doing a good job of driving home the point of like, yo, man, this family infighting amongst each other only leads to all of our collective ruin. Yeah. We've seen the Brackens and, them destroy each other in that war thing we saw in that scene. That was just a cut to a bunch of bodies. We saw the twins kill each other.
Yeah, we didn't actually see the battle. Budget saving. Hey.
I mean, it's not an important battle. It's not an important battle. It's a battle that happens that's for narrative purposes, but like, there's no named characters we care about. The point is that they beef and they're bloody, right? But, the point was made, and I can't wait to see how that pays off in the later parts of the season for the battles that frankly matter more because they have named characters and bigger conflicts.
All right.
But I like the driving that point home.
Sounds good. So it sounds like all of us are going to be watching this show. So even if we don't talk about it again, we'll probably talk about it when it ends. But let's say we don't talk about it again. Both of you are glued to it every Sunday night. You're going to be watching it?
Oh, we're talking about it at the end.
Okay. Brian, you're into
Regardless of how you feel, Wes.
Go renegade, Brian.
Do it.
Everybody and their mom is watching the show.
So you got to be a
that
follower
includes
and a
us,
sheep. Uh-huh.
And we're enjoying it.
Okay.
Not that we're sheep. It's that sometimes things rise above the rest. And,
I see.
This is clearly one of them. And I'm, if some people don't get it, that's on them.
Yeah, I'll say this: your guys' enthusiasm and things you're pointing out has like upped the show's profile in my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing some good things here. So thank you for sharing your opinions and your insights. I was gonna say foresights. That's not what the insights that you guys have shown or shared with me today. I still don't think it's like an amazing show. I'm not like, this is not like my favorite show, but it is fun, and me and Jen have been watching it together, so we'll definitely keep
Tell us
watching.
what your favorite show is.
Yeah, what do you
Let's
like?
compare.
West Wing, my favorite show ever, all time. West Wing.
No. I mean right now.
Oh, I don't have
Also, West
Yeah, because
Wing.
you seem kind of lukewarm on everything, Wes. Yo, you know, like, what's up? Are you just becoming a curmudgeon?
It could be that. I think also part of it is, I just haven't had as much time to like really actually just enjoy shows. Everything feels like I'm stealing time from other places, and so it's really got to be like capturing, to be like, well,
Stop
that was
taking
worth
it
it.
out on the shows here.
Yeah, it could be that. All right, friends, we're gonna wrap it up there. House of the Dragon every Sunday night on Max or HBO. It's probably on both, right? HBO and on Max. But who has HBO anymore? Nobody. We just all have Max, or we're borrowing somebody's login. Friends, we're out of here. Be good. Don't sleep with your brother or wife or sister. Bye. Bad things happen.
Oh, we should have did that Line of Succession one. Y'all don't want beef with y'all siblings over a throne.
Yeah, I have a funny answer for that.